Our next speaker will be Bob Kenzie, and Bob is a UCC minister and he's retired.
The Gaza Strip is not much bigger than the city and county of Denver. On it live 1,500,000 human beings who are brothers and sisters. They're eating grass, they're making bread out of dog food, their hospitals are not working, as you've heard. They're not all members of Fatah, they're not all members of any terrorist organization that's threatening Israel's peace and security. They're just our brothers and sisters. They're being blockaded by a military force which receives $3 billion a year from our government, the United States government, to maintain its strength and its capacity to carry out such a blockade. Therefore, we bear, as Americans, a responsibility for what is happening in Gaza. As a Christian at Christmas, I remember a story which we do not tell about the slaughter of the innocents at Christmas time, when Herod, in an attempt to protect his political power, supposedly slayed 2,000 infants. We never talk about that story, and we're not talking about this story in Gaza today. The silence is deafening, American press, just as it is deafening around the suffering in the Congo, which we do nothing about except deal in arms trade to all the sides there as well. The silence is deafening about American complicity in this slaughter of innocents. I'm reminded of a Chinese proverb that says, the more you fight against an enemy, the more you become like him. And every time I look at the Gaza Strip over the last 6 months, all I can think of is the Warsaw Ghetto and the suffering that took place there. We have a responsibility to pay attention, to know about what's going on, and to speak on behalf of the innocents, our brothers and sisters.
We have Habiba speak, and Habiba is a guide for the Sufi community.
So my dad was an American soldier during World War II, and he served in Germany. So as a really small child, I had no father to protect me, no one to safeguard my life. And I was surrounded all around by the terror and the grief and the horror that people were feeling, and the fear that they were feeling about, what was going on over there, and would the soldiers return home safe. And when my father finally came home, he couldn't talk about what he'd seen. He was so upset. And later, though, when I did begin to understand why he had to go, I felt that my sacrifice had been very small, but the sacrifice of the Jewish people and the people in that part of the world was much greater. In junior high, I read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich and The Diary of Anne Frank, and I couldn't understand why everyone didn't speak out, why they didn't speak up for their Jewish brothers and sisters. And I made myself a promise then that were such a thing to happen again, that I would speak out. And now I see in Gaza something that I fear could worsen into a similar situation. It's already a dire situation, and I can't remain silent. What happened in the Holocaust is unforgivable. But now we are at a time where our Native American elders say that it is possible to forgive the unforgivable. And this must be done by our Jewish brothers and sisters, so that they can once again stand strong in their own identity. And from that strength, they can begin to look at their Palestinian brothers and sisters with humanity. I asked myself how American can be supportive of this, of these acts, and I realized that America too began with the genocide of the Native American population and the enslavement and dehumanizing of our African brothers and sisters. We in America have to ask forgiveness for the unforgivable acts that we have perpetrated upon our brothers and sisters. And once we do, perhaps we can begin to heal from our own shame and view the situation in Israel and Palestine with more clarity. There's a great healing needed on this planet. It's time to stop dehumanizing an other. We're all children of the divine, regardless of what name we might call him or her. We're all connected. What we do to each other, we do to ourselves.
Okay, our final speaker will be Ron Forthover, and he's with the Christian Peacemaker team.
An ongoing crime against humanity is the poorly covered Israeli siege of 1.5 million people in Gaza. In 2006, after the Hamas victory in the Palestinian election, Israel intensified the already harsh conditions in Gaza. For example, on March 23, 2006, former Israeli Prime Minister Sharon's advisor, Dov Weissglass, stated that the goal regarding the Palestinians was we have to make them much thinner, but not enough to die. Israel completely sealed off Gaza on January 18th of this year. In a January 23rd article, Karen Koenig Abu Zaid, who's the Commissioner General for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, wrote, Gaza is on the threshold of becoming the first territory to be intentionally reduced to a state of abject destitution, with the knowledge, acquiescence, and some would say encouragement of the international community. Israeli academic Nev Gordon described the dire situation as an experiment in famine. This past June, Egypt brokered a 6-month ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Although Israel stopped its attacks, it only slightly eased the economic strangulation of Gaza. Since early November, Israel again has completely closed Gaza's borders, preventing food, medicine, and fuel from reaching Gaza, except for a few brief breaks. Israel has also kept the media from entering Gaza during this period, except for one day. This latest siege was implemented after Hamas retaliated to an Israeli attack that killed 6 Palestinians. American Richard Falk, the current UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in the Palestinian territories, and John Dugard, his South African predecessor, have pointed out that Palestinian rocket attacks on Israel indeed constitute war crimes. But they both point out that these actions, indeed no actions, legalize Israel's use of collective punishment against Palestinians. Dugard pointed out that Israel's disproportionate and indiscriminate actions are war crimes, and Falk had called the siege a massive violation of humanitarian law. This Israeli collective punishment of Palestinians should concern us because we help pay for it. We also prevent the imposition of any sanctions against Israel by our use of veto in the UN Security Council. But there is mostly silence about this crime against Palestinians. Why are political leaders and supposedly moral people not speaking up about this crime against 1.5 million people? Some Jewish groups around the world have joined with others and called for an end to the siege, thus honoring Jewish values and showing that they understand the true meaning of never again. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere."